They ignored the janitor in the elevator until he saved the CEO's wife and changed everything. The rain came down in sheets over Manhattan, painting the city in streaks of gray and gold as headlights blurred against wet pavement. Somewhere between the end of the day shift and the city's night rhythm, Marcus Bennett clocked in for yet another evening at Thornton Global's towering headquarters, a place he had come to know better than his own apartment. Marcus, 38, tall and broad-shouldered with kind eyes and calloused hands, had worked as a janitor here for 6 years. Every night, like clockwork, he took the service elevator up to floor 12, where he'd begin his rounds. From there, he'd clean every corridor, boardroom, and executive restroom up to the 50th floor. His uniform was always spotless, not because anyone cared, but because his late wife used to say, "How you do one thing is how you do everything." He lived by that, especially for his daughters, Celia and Maya, ages 10 and 7. That night, he had a peanut butter sandwich in a brown paper bag. Maya made it and wrote, "Love you, Daddy," in purple crayon across the front. He kept the bag untouched. Somehow seeing it reminded him why every mop stroke mattered. Marcus entered the elevator around 8:47 p.m., pushing his cart and sipping cold black coffee from a travel mug with a chipped handle. As the doors started to close, a group of sharply dressed employees in suits and heels pushed in, all talking about merger deadlines, brand campaigns, and who made partner this quarter. No one looked at Marcus. He was used to it. To them, he was the wallpaper. But then, just as the doors were about to close completely, a woman rushed in, her coat dripping with rain, her heels slipping slightly on the floor. She clutched her stomach briefly, almost reflexively. She was heavily pregnant. "Sorry," she muttered, catching her breath. Marcus instinctively moved his cart aside and nodded. "Take your time, ma'am." She gave him a quick glance, not judgmental, just tired. She nodded back. They started ascending. At the 23rd floor, the elevator trembled, then flickered, then stopped. Everything went still. "Silence," one woman gasped. A man cursed under his breath. The pregnant woman leaned against the rail, her breathing slightly uneven now. One of the suited men pressed the emergency button. No signal. Marcus looked around. "Let's not panic. Elevators shut down sometimes during storms. They'll reset in a few minutes." But something was wrong. The woman hunched over, gripping the side rail tightly, her knuckles white. And then her water broke. The pregnant woman gasped in a sharp, guttural sound that echoed inside the tight elevator. Then came the words no one wanted to hear in a metal box stuck between the 23rd and 24th floors. "My water just broke," she whispered, her voice tight with pain. One of the men in suits backed up as if it were contagious. "Oh my God. You're going into labor?" She nodded, clutching her belly, her face pale and drenched with sweat. A younger woman pulled out her phone and waved it in the air. No signal. Not even a single bar. "We're still stuck." Another man banged on the elevator door, yelling, "Hey, somebody call 911. But no one answered. Marcus didn't hesitate. He set his coffee mug down, peeled off his jacket, and dropped to his knees beside the woman. "It's going to be okay," he said calmly. "I've seen this before. You're gonna get through this," the woman groaned, leaning into the cold elevator wall. "You know what you're doing?" One of the others asked, panicked. "I've delivered 2 of my own, at home," Marcus said, his voice steady. "Didn't have much choice when the ambulance didn't show up in time." He turned to the woman. "What's your name?" She winced through another contraction. "Isabel. Isabel Thornton." Marcus blinked. "Thornton?" He didn't say it out loud, but it clicked in his brain. Isabel Thornton, as in the COO of Thornton Global, the billionaire heiress to the company he'd cleaned for 6 years. But right now she wasn't a billionaire. She was a terrified woman in labor. "All right, Isabel," Marcus said gently. "I'm going to help you. Just focus on your breathing." Isabel gripped his hand so tight his knuckles cracked. I wasn't supposed to be here alone," she whimpered. "My husband, he's out of town. I just wanted to come in and grab something from the office." Marcus nodded. "You're not alone anymore. I've got you." The contractions came quicker now, each one tearing through her like lightning. The others in the elevator hovered nervously by the walls. No one else stepped forward. Marcus laid down his jacket to support her back, used the emergency kit to grab gloves and a few towels. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. "You're doing great," he said, wiping sweat from her brow. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. Finally, Isabel let out a guttural cry and pushed with every ounce of strength she had left. Then out a sound. A tiny piercing cry. Marcus held the newborn in his hands, red, wrinkled, breathing. "A girl," he said, stunned. "You've got a beautiful baby girl." Isabel sobbed, overwhelmed, exhausted, shaking. Marcus gently wrapped the baby in a clean towel and placed her into Isabel's arms. The elevator, still stuck, was now silent, except for the soft cry of new life. And for the first time since the elevator had stopped, the others stopped staring at their phones and started clapping. The elevator jolted slightly. Then with a low hum it began to move again. Everyone exhaled. Isabel, holding her newborn daughter tightly against her chest, was too tired to speak. Her head rested against the wall, her eyes half closed. But she kept her arms locked around the baby with the fierce strength only a mother could summon. When the elevator doors opened on the lobby level, paramedics were already waiting. A security guard shouted, "Clear the way!" They rushed in, taking Isabel gently onto a stretcher. One of the EMTs reached for the baby. But Isabel shook her head and clutched her daughter tighter. Her lips trembled as she finally looked at Marcus. You saved her life," she whispered. Marcus stood to the side, eyes down, unsure what to say. "I just did what needed to be done." Before she was wheeled away, Isabel turned her head one last time. "What's your name?" "Marcus," he said quietly. "Marcus Bennett." Then she was gone. The crowd dispersed. The suits muttered about rescheduling meetings, stepping around the towels like they were trash. The elevator was mopped and sanitized within the hour. By midnight, it was as if nothing had happened, except Marcus knew he'd never forget it. 3 days later, the sun peeked through rain-slicked windows as Marcus pushed his mop bucket across the marble floors of the executive wing. He hadn't told anyone about what happened, not even his daughters. It didn't seem real. He bent down to scrub a stubborn scuff mark off the floor, just outside the CEO's private elevator when he heard the sharp click of heels. He stood quickly, moving aside. "Sorry, ma'am." He froze. It was her, not the exhausted woman from the elevator, not the mother clinging to life in the dark. No, this Isabel was radiant, powerful, dressed in a deep navy suit and heels that probably cost more than his month's rent. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled, her posture tall, commanding. But her eyes softened the moment they met his. She carried a baby carrier in one hand. "Mr. Bennett," she said gently. He blinked. "You remember me?" She smiled. "You delivered my daughter." "Of course I remember." Marcus looked around, unsure if this was a setup. "Is everything okay?" "I wanted to see you in person," she said. "We looked for you, but no one even knew your full name. It took me a while to find out which janitor was on shift that night." She stepped forward. "I'm Isabel Thornton. I'm the chief operating officer here, and my husband Jonathan is the CEO." Marcus nearly dropped the mop handle. All this time, the same man whose office he cleaned every Friday. The same woman whose name was on the side of the building. "I didn't know," he stammered. "It doesn't matter," she said. "What matters is when no one else acted, you did." She knelt beside the baby carrier and pulled back the blanket slightly. The baby yawned, then smiled. That reflexive newborn smile that makes time stop. "We named her Grace," Isabel said, her voice catching just slightly. "Because that's what you gave us." Marcus swallowed the lump in his throat. "I don't know what to say." "You already said it," she replied, "with your actions." Marcus didn't know where to look. His calloused hands gripped the mop handle, as if it were the only thing keeping him grounded. "I'm just a janitor," he finally said. Isabel stood tall now, her eyes steady. "No, you're a man who stayed calm in crisis. Who did something most people couldn't. You're more than your job title." Behind her, the glass elevator dinged and opened. From it stepped a tall man in a tailored gray suit, salt and pepper hair, strong jaw, expression unreadable. Isabel turned and gestured. "Marcus, this is my husband, Jonathan Thornton." The man stepped forward and extended his hand. "Mr. Bennett," he said, his tone formal but sincere. "My wife told me everything. I've shaken hands with senators and billionaires, but shaking yours, and that's an honor." Marcus hesitated before shaking it. "I didn't expect this. I didn't want anything." Jonathan nodded. "Exactly why you deserve more than anyone else I've met." They invited Marcus into the executive boardroom, not to reprimand him for stepping out of line, but to thank him properly. 2 weeks later, it was a Friday evening. Marcus arrived home a little earlier than usual. His daughters Celia and Maya came running to the door. He scooped them up, one in each arm. "Guess what?" he smiled. "I've got something to tell you both." Celia tilted her head. "You win the lottery?" "Almost." He sat them down and pulled out 2 crisp letters with gold trim. "What's that?" Maya asked, eyes wide. "These," Marcus said, "are full scholarships. To any school you want. All the way through college." The girls gasped. "But how?" Celia asked. "You clean floors." Marcus looked at them with pride. "Sometimes, doing the right thing, even when no one's watching, is worth more than a paycheck." He told them the whole story. About the woman in the elevator. About baby Grace. About what kindness can do when you offer it, without expecting anything back. Marcus didn't mop floors anymore. Instead, he now had a new title. Director of Facility Services and Safety. A real office. A flexible schedule so he could drop his girls off at school. A salary that could finally give them the life they deserved. But more than that, Isabel and Jonathan asked him to speak at company events. To share his story at one event, Isabel introduced him with tears in her eyes. "Marcus didn't just save my daughter's life. He reminded all of us that character is built in silence, when no one's clapping, when the cameras aren't rolling." The crowd rose to their feet, a standing ovation. Marcus stepped up to the podium, cleared his throat, and said, "I never thought I'd be in a room like this. I'm not here because I studied in Ivy League schools. I'm here because one night someone needed help, and I didn't wait for someone else to step in." Grace Thornton turned 1 the following year. Marcus was invited to her birthday party, held at the Thornton estate. The girls played together on the grass as Jonathan grilled burgers in the backyard, like a regular dad. Before they left, Isabel handed Marcus a framed photo, a snapshot from the hospital, taken right after Grace was born. In the corner of the picture, partially blurred, was Marcus's face, tired, focused, and full of compassion. Below the photo, in gold lettering, were the words, "Real heroes don't wear capes. They carry mop buckets." If this story reminded you of the quiet heroes around us, the ones who never ask for credit but change lives. Anyway, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Spoken Walls. In the comments, tell us, when was the last time a stranger showed you unexpected kindness?